I said, plug me in. I got stuff to talk about, damn it. I'll crawl out of my earbuds once a week to give you a show. That's what I do, folks. I do this show for the common man, for the people in despair. I bring this show into the world and I sell it everywhere. The simple truth lies waiting here, folks, for all of you to share. Hold on, I will take you there.
Hey, what's happening? Mike Schmidt, 40-Year-Old Boy podcast. And I know you're thinking to yourself, hey, is he in the oldest building in Hollywood? Well, I am, but I'm recording on my phone in the hallway. Because Lily wouldn't let me in her apartment. How great would that be if I actually went to her place and she was there, I let myself in, and she went, you know what, I don't think it's going to work out. And then I stayed and somehow recorded in the fucking hallway. That would be ridiculous. No, I am on my phone, and I'm coming to you live from Wisconsin with my co-host, Tawny. Hey, Tawny. Tawny has me trapped in the bedroom again, and she is barking. Hopefully, she will stop barking at some point. Although I may have to interrupt and go feed her or give her something, a treat or a muzzle or a box. I could put her in a box. What if I put her in a box? Oh, what's in the box? A very hungry dog. What's in the box? A beagle that will not stop barking. Oh, what's in the box? A Roomba in a beagle suit. Oh, what's in the box? Something fat with legs. I couldn't tell you what. Well, I guess that could mean that I am in the box. I'm a fat guy. Hi. Tawny is out there. But even weirder, here's the thing. All right, so Tawny's here with me. And she's barking. She's excited because I think she just wants to be on the show. I think she got a taste of internet stardom. I don't even want to say stardom. Internet exposure. Let's put it that way. Because Jill put a picture of her up last week, and then I talked about her on the show a couple weeks ago, and now she's probably got a fan club. There might be a Tawny page started on Facebook where everybody wants to get involved with a hungry dog. Hungry Dog Productions. I mean, she's got like Hungry Punch Media or Throat Punch Hungry or Hungry, Throat Bite Media. That's what she is. She's throatbitemedia.com. Go ahead and check her out. She is barking and she is hungry, and I'm going to have to feed her. I thought she would calm down, but she won't. So, hi, perhaps you can hear that. You know what's funny is I've done other people's podcasts and I'm like, dude, they totally sound like they're in the bottom of a well. You guys got to have a more professional recording. And I'm here with a fucking dog barking at the door, which again, I don't mind. It's you guys that have to have it in your earbuds and hear it in the background. I've actually moved farther away from the door hoping it doesn't, you can't hear it. Maybe you can't. Maybe I should stop talking about it. Maybe you can't hear it. Maybe I'm the only one who can hear it, because I'll tell you what, before she even barked, I could hear her fucking breathing at the door. I don't know if you guys could hear that, because this dog snores. This dog is a presence. This dog is really a presence. That's the only way to put it. She's just looming and lurking. I want them to make Paranormal Activity 5, and it's literally just this dog breathing behind your head the whole time. That's it. There's maybe ghosts, but there's definitely a dog breathing in your fucking ear with crazy black dog breath. Her breath is so like plaque dog breath. I think that she only eats dog plaque. I don't know if that comes in a box. There's like kibbles and dog plaque. Perhaps there's that. I don't have many dogs. I had dogs when I was a kid, obviously, and I don't have many dogs now. That sounds ridiculous. What am I, a king? I have sumptuous banquets and many dogs. I don't have any dogs or sumptuous banquets. I have candy and yogurt and no dogs. That's what I have in my car and in my house. But right now she all right, she put a lid on. I should stop talking about it probably. But here's the weird part. Okay, not only am I here with Tawny, who you could probably hear, I'm here with Tawny and she's barking. But I'm doing the show in Jill's place, and I have another person here. Like her son is here, one of her sons, and he's in his room, and his room is kind of adjacent to Jill's. And I'm doing the show. Like I was all right, last week, Jill was in California and I needed to record the show. So I actually went out and did it in the car, which was strange because I didn't want her to be there and I didn't want to kick her out of the apartment and make her go to the pool. Not that that's a terrible fate, obviously. Hey, you go to the pool. That's no punishment, certainly. Hey, don't listen to me rant like a crazy person. Why don't you just go lay out in the sun by the pool? Maybe that's preferable. You know what? I do that for all you guys. I forgive you. Right now, stop listening to me and go out to the pool. Granted, you could actually go out to listen to the pool, or go out to the pool and listen to me at the same time. But she couldn't. I couldn't do my show by the pool. Oh my God, how fucking terrible would that be? My entire apartment complex just staring at me. because again, it's bad enough I do it in the apartment and they can hear me. And like at my house, I'm always worried about Lou and those guys hearing. But now, because I don't give a fuck if Lou or anybody in my apartment complex hears me, because so what? I'm in my house. That's the way it should be. But now I'm in Jill's house, and her son is here, and he's been sick. So I'm worried about catching his illness. He had mono. I found that out just before I came out here. So Jill texted me and she's like, "Hey, we're gonna be heading because all right, Jill was in California last week, and then I was coming. We devised the thing where the Packers are going to be in the playoffs. So I was like, why don't I just come out and see you? Because it happened to work with my work schedule. I said I'll just come out for the weekend. So we both flew together on Friday, but she flew in a separate plane and I flew in a separate plane, whatever. And then she texted me and she goes, "We're going home to a very sick kid," and he had texted her that he had mono. So I was in the airport. I literally just started Googling mono contagious because I didn't know if I had to get a surgical mask or put myself in a plastic bubble or wear a fucking hazmat suit. I have no idea. All I know is I'm 47 years old, and if I get mono, I think I die. I think that's the natural progression, right? Because it's called the kissing disease. But for an old guy, it's the never breathing again, and you're so tired you never want to get up, and you just die with bed sores disease. I think that's what mono is. That's technically what WebMD told me. So I Googled it and I found out you're not contagious unless he like coughs and sneezes all over you. It's only saliva that makes it contagious. So I was like, all right, well, that's not a problem. I'll go there and who cares? And he's a grown man. He takes care of himself. So that's fine. He's not going to sneeze in my face. I don't think so. We seem to get along. That wouldn't seem like a natural greeting when you see somebody if you would sneeze in someone's face. This dog is going crazy, right? You can hear it, I think. Probably not. Well, I don't know. She's putting on a show. What's funny is when I did the other show, she kind of barked a little bit, but I expected this. But now today I didn't expect this, and she's doing this, which is crazy. This is the new medium of podcasting, folks. This is me talking to you while the dog barks in the background. It's like, imagine, and you know what? I do apologize. It can't be helped really, because she lives here. I'm really in her house. Technically, I'm doing a podcast in her house. So she runs the place, and I should just respect that. And I don't know, go. But that's the thing is, last week, so I was telling you, last week I went out to the car, and I did it, and I drove off to a quiet neighborhood. Dude, anywhere you do this on the phone, you look like a psychopath. Because I did it in O'Hare. Remember when I did it in O'Hare Airport, and people were fucking looking at me, and I was just like, I don't care, doing a fucking podcast over here. Well, last week, I let Jill hang out by the pool and I went in my car and I drove to a neighborhood close by mine and I parked on the street and I did it in the car. And I was in a residential neighborhood, so there were people walking their dogs, and they would walk by and look inside the car at me, and I didn't fucking care. It's just me talking into a phone, and I'm holding the phone, so it's like not a conversation, obviously. And also, I'll tell you what, if you watch me for any length of time, you realize this is not a two-sided conversation. You have to keep an eye on me. If you think that I'm on the phone, that's one thing. But if you sit there and look at me for any length of time, you're going to see me talking, and you're going to be like, oh, dude, that guy's just fucking talking. Like, he's firing away. I don't know who's on the other side of that call, but they cannot be fucking happy about it at all. So that's if you stuck, because there were people who were walking their dog and then they wound up in the yard for 5 minutes or so right around the car and staring at me, and I'm sure they could hear. Well, they probably couldn't hear me because the Murano is pretty soundproof, but at the same time they could see me talking and talking and talking, and it was just, it was insane, because again, it's this one-sided conversation, and they thought I was fucking blow drying somebody on the other end. You guys, you know what you guys are? I'm like fucking, I'm your boss, and I'm fucking chewing you out for an hour and a half every goddamn week. That's what I'm doing, and you just gotta fucking sit there and take it. This is like the worst conference room. This podcast is the worst conference room in the world. You guys are all seated around a table, and I'm just fucking blow drying you from some weird podium with a PowerPoint presentation that won't fucking end. And anybody seeing me in a car is just thinking that, like, what is this guy doing? And also, what can I possibly be the boss of? I'm in a fucking Bears jacket sitting in a goddamn car. Right now I'm in a bedroom. I'm nobody's boss. I'm not even this dog's boss. I've told it to shut up and tried to feed it, and it still won't be quiet. I don't get it. But even weirder than all that, like I said, is her son is in the next room, and he's going to hear me jabbering around like a fucking idiot, and just be like, I'm sure she's going to see him, and he's going to go, Mom, you got to seriously cut this guy loose, because he is in your bedroom, and he's talking and taunting, he's barking, and it's not right, Mom. This is not what I envisioned for you as I grew up. I didn't expect you to be in a relationship with a lunatic. All of that is phony. He likes me, I like him, but at the same time, he's never been exposed to this level of my crazy as I sit in a fucking bedroom and talk into the ether, essentially, because he can't see me. I'll tell you that. That's another thing. You know what? He's actually getting this podcast unvarnished. Before any of you have heard it, her son has heard it, because he's in the next room hearing it. And again, if he was seeing me talking to the phone, it would be a different story, but he's hearing it through the wall. So basically, He's like you guys. You're hearing me through your earbuds. Well, he's totally hearing me through the wall. So he's getting this podcast first. And now also he realizes most of it is about him. At least up to this point, he probably thinks it's almost over. He's like, fuck, this guy talked about me. Now he's really going to cut me loose. God damn it. I should have thought about that. I should have thought about it before I started. So Jill was, she was in California last week, and we decided we were going to come out here. And then I was here, and she had to work, and we watched the game, and then I just, I want to be with her all the time. I mean, and look, you guys feel the same way with people you love. You want to be with them all the time. Well, I love my girlfriend, so I wanted to be here. So it worked with my work schedule to actually change it and stay a little longer. I mean, I was supposed to be on a plane home today, which is Tuesday, and then I was going to record with Lily tomorrow. Well, I changed my flight so I could stick around here and hang out with Jill for a few extra days, and because I love her and I want to be here. So I'm recording the show here via phone again, and I think Tawny is upset about that fact, as you can hear her in the background, although she stopped now. Good, that's good. All right, that's all I needed to know. But I'll tell you this, I can't, last week I went out to the car and I drove to a neighborhood. Well, this week I cannot. And here's why. Despite the fact that there's Tawny and Jill's son, and they're here in the house, I must record in the house because it is like 25 degrees outside with snow all over the ground. And part of me was like, well, I can go out to the car and record out there. Well, I would have to have the car on. I couldn't sit because I had the car off last week when I recorded in it. But this week, if I sat in the car and fucking recorded, I would have to have it on and I'd have the heat on. So dude, I'll tell you what, you think Tawny barking in the first segment of this fucking show is annoying for you? Or maybe it's not. Maybe you enjoyed the addition of a dog co-host. But if it is annoying for you, imagine if it was me shouting over fucking heat cranked up. Because look, I wouldn't just have the heat on at like 70 and trying to stay warm. I would crank the heat up to 90 in the car and have it blowing full blast. So then it would just be like me talking into a fucking wind tunnel and you'd have to listen through that. And nobody wants that. And I actually thought in my head, I'm like, well, I can just go out and sit in the garage. Because again, dude, if I drive to a neighborhood here, it's like this quaint little town, this artisan town that sells like cheese and chocolate and fucking trout. And I'm like, fuck, I can't possibly go and hide in a neighborhood here because then people they'll call the cops. And a guy will pull up and ask me where I'm from, and I'll say California, and it'll be like the cop in fucking Footloose, and then Lithgow won't let me dance. Fucking terrible. So I can't do that. So then I actually thought I could go to the car and sit in the garage. Here, this is, again, folks, this will tell you how I'm not an adult. I thought to myself, well, dude, if you just go out and sit in the car in the garage, it'll be fine. You can stay warm by turning the heat on. Dude, I'm so glad I thought of this. If I did that, I would be dead. Like dead, like in a, like fucking breathing in fumes, dying. Like I swear to God. And I don't know if I'm just a lunatic or I'm just not an adult or I don't consider those things, but in my head, I genuinely had it as an option. I'm like, well, you know what? I don't want to disturb her son. Perhaps I'll just go out and sit in the car and record in the garage. And I'm sure before I died, I would have realized, oh, wait, you can't have the car on in the garage and fill the fucking place with exhaust. You will die. And again, as I've said, if I'm going to die in this podcast, it's going to be gunshot. We're going to have a fucking great ending. You can't have me just talking and then nod off falling asleep. That would be terrible. It's got to be a bang, man. We can't have just me drift off as I choke to death on fucking fumes. No, man, it's got to be a fucking real thing right in your lap. You got to hear it. You can't hear me slowly drift off as I poison myself with carbon monoxide, right? That would be like if I put a plastic bag in my head and I tried to do the show. Terrible. I don't know why I'm thinking of methods of suicide to record this show. What if I hanged myself? All right, if I had a chair, I'd have to, you know what I would do? I would record myself with making the noose. Like I would get myself through the entire process of making the noose, setting up the chair, and finding the beam that I'm supposed to hang from. And I would walk you all the way through it, and then the last thing you would hear was me jumping in the chair, hitting the floor. Now, actually, I like that. I like that a lot more than the idea of a gunshot. Because a gunshot, man, that's like a lot of stuff people got to clean up and you're going to hear it. It's going to be a mess. But if I wind up like setting up a chair and it's kind of creaky and there's a beam and you see me setting up a noose, dude, that's not bad. That's not a bad idea for suicide in the air. I mean, I can't, drown myself and I don't want to slip off in a cloud of exhaust fumes. Hanging's the way to go. Right? Thank you, by the way, for the people who wrote me and said write an email and wrote write on my Facebook page. I appreciate it. See, you guys respond when I tell you to do stuff. So I'm here and it's freezing outside. It's snow and cold, so I couldn't go outside. So I'm recording in the house, and the dog decided it was fucking showtime. She's going bananas. And I will tell you this too. The last time I did the show and I told Jill that Tawny was barking, like Jill was upset, and she's like, "I'm really sorry." And I go, "Dude, don't worry about it. I actually I think I made it funny." And she's like, "Well, no, but I'm sorry that she did that." And I'm like, "It's a dog. I mean, there's no way I can convince her not to do it. Dogs they're just eating machines with ears, floppy ears that you can scratch. So it's not like I can ask her, hey, look, I'm recording a show, please keep it down. And again, I'm in her house. But Jill was like, oh man, that's such a drag. I'm really sorry about Tawny. And I said, dude, don't worry about it. I totally get it. It's her place. And she was barking and it's fine. And it was kind of funny. And then there's today where she will not stop barking. And I know Jill's going to go crazy. She's going to go out of her mind. I'm not even going to tell her that this happened. And then she's going to hear the show and she's going to go, oh my God, Tawny would not shut up. And I'm going to go, yeah, that's exactly right. And she's going to go, why didn't you tell me? And then she'll get to this part of the podcast and go, oh, that's why you didn't tell me. See, look at this. I'm like planting little truth bombs in the middle of the show that she's going to stumble into, that all of us are going to stumble into together. I think that's great. So so I'm in Wisconsin, and I am not at Lily's house, and I'm not sure. I don't think next week I will be at Lily's house either. I might not. We will see. But regardless, I got the phone, man, so I can do the show. But look, if I've got a phone and I've got a car and I've got a dog, we've got a show, right? That's all we need to concern ourselves with. As long as we've got a dog co-host, we've got a goddamn podcast. I love the fact that I'm doing a show and there's a dog barking. I know you don't, and I normally would get all hung up and be all upset about it, because it's not professional, and I want to bring you a professional show, and I'm a professional broadcaster. But but part of me likes it because can you imagine if you were watching a television show and there was just a dog barking throughout the entire show, and there was nothing you could do about it, and even the cast they kind of tried to proceed and just do the show, but then they would kind of look over, they'd keep referencing the fact that a dog was barking, but nobody could make the dog be quiet and nobody would make the dog leave. I actually think it's kind of funny. It shows you how things have changed, man. I mean, and look, you may have tuned out by fucking now because you're tired of hearing a dog barking in the background, but I prefer for you to think of like me. Let's pretend this. Let's do like old time radio stuff. Like, let's pretend that I'm a hobo in a hobo yard and there's a fucking dog and he's barking in the background as I'm trying to bring you my hobo thoughts, right? I got a knapsack, I got fingerless gloves, I got a tweed jacket with some patches on the elbows. Well, not just on the elbows. I got a pocket that's ripped off, and I got a pocket full of bird seed that I share sometimes with the bird, but sometimes I have to eat it myself just for vitamins. And now I'm just kicked back with like a hole in the bottom of my shoe, and I got my feet up, waiting for a fucking guy to hit me with a salt gun. I'm trying to hide. I'm hiding between train cars, and you can hear a dog as I'm bringing you my wistful tales from the road. This is perfect, dude. I'm like Garrison Kaler, sort of, but like a dick. Actually, Lily said that about me one time. She's like, he's Garrison Kaler, but he's a jagoff. Is it Keeler or Kaler? Ah, fuck that guy. See, that's the jagoff part of me. The Garrison Keeler in me cares about knowing what his name is pronounced like. But the jagoff in me is like, ah, fuck that idiot. Who cares? Fuck you, Lake Wobegon. You know what? Now there's a show. If you hear Garrison Kaler drowning in Lake Wobegon, now we've got a goddamn show. I think I said Wobegong. Dude, that's actually the Chinese counterpart of Lake Wobegon. There's a Lake Wobegong. Hold on. The heat's coming on, thank God, because it's freezing outside. So yeah, I probably should go feed the dog at some point, and I will do that. I'm not going to bring you guys with me. You don't want to hear that. Nobody wants to hear food clanking into a bowl. But you'll know at some point that I've gone to do it. So here I am in Wisconsin, and I'm here to wrap up the basketball stuff. And you know what's funny is Max last week when I talked to him, I'm like, we were trying to figure out what to do for the artwork. Because I said I did basketball again this week, and I'm doing it again next week. He said, "Are you serious?" I said, "Yeah." I go, "It's been a while. It's been a while since I did that." I go, "But today I just talked about the first day of shooting, which was last week's show. So we were spitballing what to do with the artwork, and we were thinking of different ideas. And if you look at the first week, he did it, and it was me. Well, you can look at the artwork now, but it was a picture of me. He did a little South Park me, and I was gonna dunk a basketball over the kids from South Park. And we liked that. And I was like, and we thought of an idea where it was a continuation where I'd just be sailing toward the hoop. And then the final one would be I'd dunk it or I'd break the backboard or whatever. And then just everybody would be showered with glass. Who knew? So we were spitballing that. But then we thought about just reusing the artwork from the previous week. And we came up with the idea that we had last week where we said, well, what if we just fucking took it out of the garbage? I said, dude, how funny would that be if it was like every time you did artwork, you crumbled it up and threw it away. Like there was, you didn't save it. There was no no archive of the artwork for the show. Just when you were done with it for the week, you just garbaged it up, balled it, and threw it in the trash. And we laughed our asses off. And then I said, well, next week I'm talking about basketball too. And he's like, well, dude, we got to use the same artwork. And I was like, dude, what if it's even worse? And so we decided, what if it was torn apart and he had to actually tape, like he didn't know that I was doing it a third week. Like the second week, finally, he just pulled it out and then he threw it away again. And I called him, I go, dude, I'm doing a third week of baseball. And he's like, motherfucker. And he has to pull it out of the trash and actually tape it together because when he's done with the artwork, he fucking tears it apart and throws it in the garbage. So that's why you see the artwork the way it is. And I just, God, I fucking loved it. I'm so excited right now just to see the third week of artwork. that's literally, that's worth telling the basketball story for 3 weeks, to see the third week of artwork that he's put together. But last week, I told you guys about the first day of shooting, and how I was leaving and I grabbed a call sheet and I knew that I was getting called back the next day. I didn't think so. And I was still frustrated with myself, and I didn't know what to do. And that's just been a theme for me. Is again, like I said, and I said it to Jill again this week. I just don't want to fuck things up. She and I had a little back and forth on the other day, and I got real frustrated with myself. And that's the whole thing. It's like, dude, I'm never mad at anybody else. Everything I do is traced to me, because I don't want to fuck things up. That's the thing. And so I play it too close, and then I wind up, and you know what I wind up doing then? I wind up fucking things up. Stop. So that's what I need to stop doing, and that's what I'm trying to learn, and that's one of the things I go to therapy and all that stuff for. So that day when I left, man, I was just wiped out, because I was lucky and I knew I was coming back, but at the same time I knew I was still going to be me, and there was a chance I might fucking blow something, and I didn't want to be that guy. I just didn't want to. But I was excited. Let's put it that way. I was really excited to come back. So the next day I came back to shoot, and we were back at Cal State Northridge, and we had to film a scene where we were leaving the locker room, and we were the felons, and we were signing autographs, and Yasmin Bleeth was there. And she was going to have a group of orphans, and they were going to be meeting the Beers as well. And there was a scene where I think Trey met Yasmin. But it was my first day of working with Matt and Trey and actually seeing them there. And, it was a weird time, I would imagine, for them. And especially now when you look back and you think, man, they've become gigantic players in the entertainment industry. But at the time, they were two dudes who had come up with this fucking calling card, the Jesus versus Santa Claus and the South Park Kids, and then they got the series, and it was huge. It was becoming huge, but I mean, obviously not nearly as big as they are now. But then they're on the set of a goddamn movie, and honestly, I'll be honest, I don't know if Orgasmo was made before that, so they had movie making experience. I can't speak to that. I don't know. All I know is I only knew them from South Park, and they could not have been more cool or down to earth or nice to all of us. Like they hung out with us. Like, they'd talk to the Zuckers and stuff, but they would come over and they would talk to the extras and the felons or the Beers or, and their friend Squeak, that guy, I couldn't even tell you his name. I know him as Squeak Scolari. Literally, I just knew him, he was their friend, and that's how he got the gig. But they hung out with him and they busted balls and they were funny and they were cool. And you just found yourself going, dude, every time now anything good happens for them, and look, they made Book of Mormon, which is fucking genius. That's the thing, is they also do genius work, because fucking South Park is brilliant. But then they were also great guys. They were so fucking nice, because normally you hear about guys in the entertainment industry who are dicks and then they're mean, or they, but these guys just, you know what they seemed, and this will sound strange, I don't know if it'll make sense to you, they seemed comfortable. They weren't weirded out or intimidated or freaked out about being on a movie or being with the Zuckers or having South Park blow up. They were just having it happen all around them, and they were fine, almost like they knew it was going to happen. And they were so nice to us. They couldn't have been nicer, they couldn't have been cooler, and they couldn't have been more unlike Yasmin Bleeth. Because I'll tell you what, she was so fucking terrible to everybody. I mean, she was annoying. She would stop takes. She was questioning the directors. You would see that she thought she shouldn't even be in a movie with the South Park guys. She thought she was a fucking star. And maybe she was. I don't know if Baywatch or she was, because she was certainly somebody, and she was a bigger name than them tabloid-wise, but certainly not talent-wise. And you could see that she thought she was making movies with guys who did cartoons. You could almost just sense her fucking attitude of entitlement, And she was rude to the extras. She ignored people. She wouldn't talk to them. She would hide in her trailer, and Richard Grieco would come and bring her fucking lunch, and they would just hide away from everybody. Whereas Matt and Trey would eat at craft services with everybody out at the tables, and it was never an issue. So that day we filmed, and Yasmin was supposed to be, she was the head of an orphanage or whatever the fuck, and every time that they would say cut, she would walk away from the kids. Like, she didn't hang out on the set at all. She would go, and she had an assistant that she would go and talk to and hide away from everybody else. Whereas Matt and Trey would hang out on the set and joke around and goof around with everybody and kind of wing stuff and think about bits, because they were also in Zucker mode where they were all on the fly creating and trying to do the best that they possibly could. And they would do bits that, if they stuck or they didn't, they had a script, certainly, but they would have ideas, and they'd consult the Zuckers, and the Zuckers respected them. You could just see this mutual, I don't even want to say passing of the torch, but I mean, they were real respectful of the Zuckers, and the Zuckers saw what those guys brought to the table. You could just see it in all of their interactions, that they respected one another, and they would listen to one another. Because, I mean, normally the director tells everybody what the fuck to do. And look, I'm not what the fuck am I talking about? I'm not Captain Actor. I have no idea. I'm just talking about the projects I've done on commercials and television shows, anything I've worked on. You basically do what you're told when the director tells you to do it. And granted, I've never been at the level of the star of a film, so maybe there is that interaction. Maybe there is this sort of interplay that I wasn't expecting. But to see the four of them all on the same page, and Abrams as well, Jerry Abrams, they all exchanged ideas and would try things certain ways, and it was really fun to watch happen. Now, I should tell you, I wasn't involved in fucking any of it. The second day of shooting, I was there, and we were constantly meeting. The kids were coming over to meet, and we were fake signing autographs. And it was more of that business and more of that just not making any noise while Yasmin and Trey had their scene. And we just kind of pretended in the background to sign autographs and wave and do stuff. So it really felt like I was an extra, even though I was still Grunsky. But when I had showed up that day, like, it was so great. Everybody was cool to me. Nobody. I'll liken it to this. I told a story in year one about getting beaten up when I was in 7th grade. I was beaten up by a guy named Glenn Gardner. And it was in front of like 50 kids, and they all saw it happen, and I cried, and it was fucking terrible. And my entire life has been fighting that moment, refighting that battle and what I would have done differently. Well, I ditched school for almost 2 weeks after that, because I didn't want to go to school and face everybody, because I just figured I was going to be the prison bitch. I'll be honest, in 7th grade, I probably didn't think of that phrase, but I just figured I'd be a fucking punching bag for everybody at that point. And embarrassed that I cried and sad. I got beat up on my own fucking doorstep. It was terrible. But when I went back to school, there were these two guys named Jerry Daffron and Andy Chart. They were like the kind of like burnout cool guys. And right when I walked up, they said, "Hey, Mike." And I said, "Hey." They said, "How you doing?" I said, "Good." And that was it. Like, I went to class, I went to school, and nobody beat me up. I was accepted. I don't know if they felt badly for me, or they thought Glenn went over. I don't know. All of a sudden, 2 weeks had passed, and it was like nothing bad had happened. So going back to the set was kind of freaky for me. I after messing up that joke, I didn't want to be there and have myself be ostracized, but I was willing to play it out as long as they would let me. And again, when she told me, "You're Grunsky," I said, "That's great." I mean, again, I didn't think they were ever going to use me for another joke. So we filmed that day, and then there were other days of filming at Northridge, and then there were a couple days of filming at another. And, I was pleasantly surprised to keep getting days of filming, because there's plenty of the movie that I'm not in, but then I'm in almost the entire last half of the film. Well, I was filming incidental scenes here and there, but only a couple of days. I think I worked like 6 or 7 days where they would bring us in for stuff. And then they didn't need us anymore. Mike Siegel was like, "Yeah, we don't need you guys probably until later in the month, and we'll give you guys call dates." He was talking to me and Matt Sloan, Darcy, and Mark Goodson. So they weren't going to need us for a couple weeks, and so I was bouncing at the time at the Troubadour, and it was pretty wild, man, because I felt, once I worked a few more days, they didn't use me for jokes, but I also wasn't in the background. I was on the set, and I got to eat craft services with the regular crew, and it was just, I was an accepted member. But there was this group of extras who was always kind of lurking and floating around, and they were always kind of grumbling about the fact that they weren't allowed in craft services. And it turned out, I found out later, these extras were SAG extras. There's levels of, if you're in SAG but you're doing extra work, these guys felt that they should get all the benefits of SAG, but the Zuckers were like, no, not on this set. And again, it's like those Miami dudes, they just thought they could wander in and do what they wanted, but no, that wasn't the case. Well, those few days, there was this grumbling from extras and I could sense it. Well, I didn't work for a couple of weeks and I was bouncing, and I came back around to feeling good about being in a movie, even though I'd only just done kind of background stuff. But still, the fact that they wanted me to come back, and Mike Siegel told me, he goes, you know what, we're probably going to use you for a few days at the end of the month. I don't know how many days, but they're booking the Los Angeles Olympic Auditorium because they have to shoot the actual basketball playing, and it's going to be an auditorium. They're going to fill it with people. So I didn't know what the fuck to expect. So a couple weeks goes by, and then I get a call, and I get a call time, and they said, you're supposed to be at the Olympic Auditorium, and I think it was 7 a.m. Well, getting anywhere in fucking Los Angeles that early is ridiculous, but going to a movie set makes it that much easier. You're very happy. But complicating things was in February of 98, when I filmed this, we were hit in Los Angeles and in California with an El Nino weather pattern, and I guess the whole fucking nation had it, but it kind of wreaked havoc on Los Angeles and California with mudslides and traffic, and I think we got something ridiculous, like 15 inches of rain in the month, which is still the highest rainfall for a month in Los Angeles history. Well, at least for February, I don't fucking know. All I know for sure is it was, at the time, it was the highest rainfall amount in a month that they'd ever had. So getting anywhere fucking sucked. And I should tell you, where I live, still live, the drainage is fucking terrible. So there would be raining and pouring, and in the morning, whenever I would have to go out, the courtyard of my apartment building and the pool would be full and there would be puddles everywhere. But then when you would drive out, dudes, the sewers, drain to the ocean, but they don't drain that quickly, and especially when we're getting torrents of rain. So my whole neighborhood looked like it was a fucking flash flood. It looked like it was under water, and it wasn't ever going to stop being underwater. Even though it was draining down the sewers, we were still getting rain running down the street. And it was miserable, because people can't drive in it, and when you're walking in it, you're stepping in puddles, and everybody's got to fucking, California, everybody's all eternally sunny, and they're all fucking happy, and they're looking to see who can help them. But in the rain, you're just trying to fucking survive, because everybody out there is confused by what the fuck is happening. They have no idea how to function in a rainstorm. So I knew I had to get up super early to commute, and I drove down to the Olympic Auditorium, and I had to be there at 7 a.m., so I actually left my house at like 5:15. And as I drove and didn't confront any sort of accidents and only drove through the rain by myself, I realized, hey, dumb fuck, you prepared way too early for this. And I got to the Olympic Auditorium by 6 a.m. My time. It was actually 5:45, I think. It took me like a half hour or 40 minutes to drive there. I thought it would take fucking forever. So I drive and I get there, and now I'm sitting in the parking lot in the goddamn rain. And even worse is, I'm there even before some of the crew guys. So they walk past my car and they see me sitting there, and they're probably thinking I'm the most eager extra on the planet. Hey, there's that guy. He cannot wait to get here and fuck up another joke. Look how excited he is. So I sat in my car with the rain coming down. And because I didn't want to go up, and I should tell you this, I didn't want to be the first guy at craft services, because again, I was deathly afraid of fucking up. I look like this eager idiot who shows up and gets, dude, I want the freshest eggs and the most crisp sausage you have. By the way, does anybody eat crisp sausage? That was the only thing that came into my head. Crisp hash browns, maybe? Succulent sausage? Oh, I would never use the word succulent, but I did, and yet I did. So I was early sitting in my car. And I had days of filming under my belt, so the crew guys would wave at me. They knew who I was, but they also knew that I had fucked up that first day so badly. Finally, it came time for my 7 a.m. call time, and I walked. And we had to park a little further away from the auditorium. We couldn't park. There was crew parking, and then there was actor talent parking, and then of course there was extras parking. Well, I was in the actor talent parking, and I still had to walk through the parking lot. So puddles everywhere and rain and misery. And then when I got to the building, there were people lined up on the outside. And these were the extras. Now, when we had shot before and they had the extras in felons' uniforms, those are different extras. All right, there's different levels of extras even. Let me put it this way. There are extras who are hired through casting agencies. That's the ones that I went and I applied at. and where they found me and decided that I wouldn't just be an extra, I would be Grunsky, Marv Grunsky. Well, those agencies specialize in booking actors as extras. And when you work with these people, I think I've talked about it before, you'll be on a set and there'll be people who are just essentially background players, but they'll be calling constantly to find out what their next job is because one day they're a fake doctor and then the next day they're a fake lawyer and or they're on a jury and they're making their $100 a day and they have to constantly stay on top of it and call and find out what's going on. Well, that's the extras who get cast. But when you're doing a giant crowd scene, like basketball was, they put the word out on radio stations and in newspapers and in the LA Weekly. For weeks, they had been hyping the fact that basketball was going to be filming and they wanted you to come and to see the new movie being filmed with the creators of South Park. That was the best part, is it was like with the creators of South Park. Oh, damn it. I totally forgot this. I got to tell you this. One of the days previous to working at the LA Olympic Auditorium, we were doing some filming on the street. Like, you remember when I said I filmed like 5 or 6 other days? Well, it was around the time that the South Park might have been the second season was premiering or the second half of the first season. I forgot how they did it, but we were filming the day Comedy Central was going to be showing the Streisand versus Mechagodzilla episode. It was Barbra Streisand versus Mechagodzilla. And they were getting a ton of press because they had taken out Barbra Streisand and she was not happy and they just didn't give a fuck. That was the best part, is they got to do the show they wanted to do and they didn't give a fuck. So we were on the street and Matt and Trey came over and they were hanging out with us and they were just talking. And so people started to ask them about the new season. They said that they were excited about it. And some people started to ask them to sign stuff. Now, these are extras and people working in the actual movie. And this is a complete no. Like, you don't do that. Because if you bother a star, you can get sent the fuck home. And it's also fucking gauche. Because, dude, if you're going to pretend like you're in a movie, then you don't get to pretend like you're a fan and gush all over somebody and say, oh, please sign this for me, because you're supposed to be on a professional level with them, and you're supposed to be a peer. Well, you lose that privilege if all of a sudden you're like, hey, do me a favor, give me an autograph and say hi to me. Can I take a selfie with you? That's fucked up. Then they're going to kick you off the set. Well, Matt and Trey didn't mind, because they didn't complain about it. They came over, they talked, and so they would sign things for people. And I also noticed that they were, they would draw little characters from South Park when they signed their names. And they would do it basically for anybody. So when we were out at they came over and they were signing autographs and doing that. So I didn't want to ask them, but then part of me wanted to ask them, but I didn't want to, but they were nice. And again, I'm a peer. So that happened a couple weeks previous. So I show up for my first day at the Olympic Auditorium, and those people are lined up around the building, and they had put out the word, come and see the filming, be a part of the filming with the guys from South Park and the guys from Airplane. And it was like free hot dogs. And I mean, it was just one of those things where it was like, basically they were trying to sell you used cars. They wanted you to come and work for free. And that's what a lot of these people did. They came and worked for free because they wanted to sit in the stands during the filming of a movie and be in the same building as the South Park guys. So I showed up and those people are lined up around the fucking building in the rain. They're standing out there in the fucking rain and they're signing their names up, and then they're being sent to the parking lot where they're going to go under tents. Like, they don't even get to fucking sit in the auditorium because the crew is setting up to film. Now, cast members like myself, the very fancy Mike Schmidt, who is playing Marv Grunsky, we're let inside. But these extras, the bagels and bananas, they got to fucking sit outside in the rain underneath tents. So I make it into the building, and I go to wardrobe, and they're like, all right, come in and sign in with us, and then go eat breakfast. So I got to go eat breakfast. Dudes, if you could ever work on a movie set as an actor or as an actual participant, you got to do it. I'm telling you, you have to fucking do it, because you just feel so important. No matter what is going on, you feel important. So I showed up, and I went and ate breakfast after wardrobe checked me in, and I went and got changed into my felon's outfit. And the thing is, I looked at the call sheet and we weren't even needed until like 3 in the afternoon, but they wanted, they want to make sure you're there. And like I said, it's hurry up and wait on a movie set. So me and Matt Sloan, we just went and sat away from the production to watch it happening and just kind of suck it all in. And Mark Goodson was not with us. He wasn't sitting with us, but me and Matt just kind of joined at the hip and we watched everything. We observed it and we checked it out. And it was just, it was a real education. I mean, I didn't learn how to make movies, but I learned how to behave on a movie set. You just kind of stay out of everybody's way and you do what you're told. And it's basically like any other job. But it's infinitely more interesting because you're watching a fucking film get made. And also, we were watching Matt and Trey and the Zuckers come up with bits on the fly that you'd be laughing your ass off and you'd be like, Jesus Christ, that's great. I didn't even know if it was in the script. And one time Matt Sloan got a copy of the script and he was able to get his hands on it. And we went through it and they were doing things that were not in there. And we were laughing. We're like, Jesus Christ, is they going to do any of this stuff? And they would, but then they would do like 10 other things. So then that Mike Siegel guy who had cast me in it, he shows up and we check in with him and he's like, how you guys doing? We're good. And so the first day keeps going to 3 and then to 4 and then to 5 and then to 6. And they still haven't used us because, as they're filming the things they wanted to film, they're also coming up with other bits and it's pushing the schedule further and further back. And I should tell you this too. You remember I mentioned that when we did the celebrating in the locker room, there were a bunch of guys in felons' uniforms? Well, there was I think 4 guys. If you watch basketball, you'll see it, and it's a really funny in joke that they didn't call much attention to, but they're the same 4 guys are on the bench for every team. If you watch it, whether it's Miami or Dallas or Milwaukee or the same, there's an Asian guy and a few other guys, they were the teammates for every single basketball team. So whenever they filmed, like you could see that they were in the different uniforms, but I don't think they ever called attention to it in the movie. I thought it was a fucking great idea. It's just these guys are constantly being used on every different team, and you don't notice. I mean, you do notice eventually if you know. You go, hey, wait a minute, that's the same dude, but they never called attention to it, and I thought it was great. So the first day, Matt and I are there, and we're eating craft services. And I tell you this, they had breakfast, and then they broke for lunch, and they had a dinner. We were actually there for dinner, but in between, like craft services would come out with like a cart and they'd find you and they go, hey, we made homemade beef barley soup. Would you like some? Because it's cold outside? Yes, of course I would. So Matt and I are eating beef barley soup. And one time they came around with the best egg salad sandwiches I've ever eaten in my life. And it was just free. It was just this nonstop food carnival. And I'm sitting there in a Dallas Felons costume and it's just pretend, man. I was living pretend, but being feted for it. Like they were just giving me food and fucking asked me what I wanted. And I was nobody, man. I'm sure I was Grunsky, but still, that was fucking nobody. Imagine what Matt and Trey and their trailers and Yasmin Bleeth and Jenny McCarthy and we were there the day, again, they filmed all the stuff in the Olympic Auditorium. We're there when they filmed when Robert Vaughn chokes on the hot dog and Jenny McCarthy tries to save him and has to give him CPR, mouth to mouth. And by the way, Jenny McCarthy is fucking bananas. And I talked about it a few episodes ago. But on the basketball set, she was friendly and nice and really cool to everybody who came up to talk to her. She was the direct diametric opposite of Yasmin Bleeth to the point where like Matt and Trey would talk to Jenny McCarthy and you could see them almost like laughing as Yasmin Bleeth was off to the side with 2 assistants tending to her every fucking need and they were just kind of snickering into their goddamn sleeves. But it was fantastic to just be there and watch it all unfold and watch them create bits in the minute or in the moment. And we would find places to hide all over the auditorium, Matt and I. We knew when we were needed. And then they kept pushing it off and filming different things and coming up with bits. And fuck, they didn't, like the first day they didn't even use us. We were there 9 hours, I think, and they fucking just cut us loose. And they said, all right, you'll be back tomorrow. And the next day we came back in the fucking rainstorm and we had breakfast and I changed into my costume and then I just went and waited. I sat around and did nothing. And I would bring a bag of fucking, and this is the old days because there's no phones, no smartphones, no internet, at least the internet that I could have there, you'd have to have dial-up. So I just brought legal pads. and I would write and try to write bits and try to jot stuff down. And I would bring books and magazines, and I actually became kind of a go-to guy where people would come over because I didn't fuck around, man. I brought a gym bag filled with fucking Sports Illustrateds and magazines and books and legal pads, and people would come over like other actors and be like, "Hey, what do you got?" And they'd fucking rifle through it, and which was weird for me. I won't lie. And I'd bring 5 newspapers as well, or no, 3. It was the LA Times, LA Daily News, and the USA Today, and it felt weird to me to do that, to let people see my stuff, because I have a weird thing, like, once somebody reads my stuff, they take all the information out of it. But again, I was just trying to be a good guy on set, and I didn't want to, like, part of me wished I could have brought fucking 25 newspapers and just passed them out to everybody. Whenever anybody wanted to read mine, I'd go, here, take this one, keep it. Because I used to fucking do that. When people would be like, hey, can I read your sports section? I'd be like, what? And they'd go, yeah, I just want to, and I'd go, keep it. And they'd say, no, I just want to look at it. Nope, because you know what? Once they've used it, it's no good to me. It's no good to me after they've had their handled it, had their hands on it, handled it. Fuck. So they didn't use us the first day. The second day we came back, they didn't use us the second day. And then the third day, we came back. Now this is all in a row. We're getting call times, we're leaving, and every time we were wondering what they were going to do. And they just kept adding bits and changing the schedule. And then the third day we came back. And finally, it was time for them to use the felons. So we actually got to play basketball, which is ridiculous. So we would just shoot baskets. We would hang out down on the floor when they needed us. Again, like I said, we were hiding most of the time, but then when they needed us, we'd be down on the floor, and in between takes, we would just shoot hoop. And we're I'm shooting baskets with Matt and Trey from fucking South Park. Matt Stone and Trey Parker. I'm rebounding for them and just passing out. Because again, I will tell you this: I am a buster when it comes to basketball. I mean, I am not good. However, at basketball, I'm fantastic. I find out as we're shooting baskets and stuff. Mike Siegel comes up to me and he's like, "Hey, can you shoot?" And I said, "Well, I don't know what do you mean?" And he's like, "Well, are you good at basketball?" I'm like, "No, absolutely not." He goes, "Oh." I said, "Why?" And he goes, "Well, their idea is that you're the best player in the world at basketball and you've never missed." I said, "Seriously?" He goes, "Yeah, that's the bit." And, the gimmick of it is that they're going to film you hitting 1,000,000 shots and, like, make a montage of it. And I'm like, well, fuck, dude. I mean, I can try. And he's like, well, yeah, but they would want you to make the shots. He goes, can you shoot? And I said, well, and here's the thing. I've played basketball my whole life, and I'm terrible. But when I used to play at David's house, at Mex's house, he had the L Dome out in the driveway. It was named for his little brother, Lawrence. So we named it the L Dome. And we would play 3-on-3 on a 9-foot rim. And, Max and Jeff could dunk and guys could play. And it would just be, dude, it would be these hard fought games. We would play all day on Saturday. It was fucking fantastic. And I would play and I was terrible. And all of us got to be a pro player. Like Jeff was Magic and Max was Jordan. And, one guy was Chris Mullin. There were all these different guys. You would have, your game would match another guy. I mean, you would always get tagged to that guy as you played. By the way, I realize I'm all over the fucking place here. I get it. I hope you're able to follow this. But I knew basketball and I knew how to play. I just wasn't any good at it at all. And I knew how to shoot. I was just terrible. Even in school when I learned how to shoot, I would shoot right-handed. You're supposed to use your left hand as a guide hand. Well, I would wind up shooting with my right hand, but my left hand did nothing. It didn't really guide the ball. I just kind of held it and I would shoot with my right hand. So then when I started to play in the L Dome, we would play with a smaller basketball that wasn't regulation size. Normally we'd play, there's a regulation size basketball that you'd play on a 10-foot rim. Well, we were playing on a 9-foot rim, and we were pretending to be pros anyway, and we were 3-on-3, so we played with a smaller basketball. So everybody could palm the ball. Max and Jeff could palm, and we could dunk. If you got free for a move, you'd dunk, and I could dunk on a 9-foot rim. I think I did it a couple times. I told the story in year one, by year one. But I was terrible. Look, I was just a big body, and it was a small driveway at the L Dome, so I would be able to take up space, and I could board a little bit, and I had kind of a drop step move that I would do that was just, it was terrible. I was awful. But here's one thing I did do. I would shoot the ball one-handed. Because shooting it two-handed was ridiculous. It just felt weird to me to put my left hand on a smaller ball, so I started getting used to the smaller ball, and I would do these little jump hooks and turn around jumpers, and all of them would be with one hand, just my right hand. Because, I mean, I could pick the ball up like a tennis ball. It was so small. And I would shoot it, and I'd use the window or whatever, and I would fire away with just one hand. So he asked me if I could shoot, and I said, well, I really can't. I mean, I'm not that great. I go, but if I shoot, I would shoot with one hand. He said, really? I said, yeah, I'm actually a better shooter with one hand because my guide hand does nothing. I would have to shoot with my right hand. He goes, well, all right, let's see. So Michael started to put me at spots on the basketball field. And, there's first base, second base, third base. It's a combination of baseball and basketball, hence the name. Well, I started shooting one-handed for him. And I was kind of making shots. Not many, but I'd make half of them. And he's like, well, maybe that's acceptable. And in my mind, I'm like, dude, with fucking movie magic, can't you make it completely acceptable? I mean, fuck, if they want to use me, and I'll fucking shoot. And if it goes in once, use that same footage over and fucking over. Who cares? But it was just kind of a light at the end of the tunnel that they were thinking of using me for something else. Because they weren't going to use me for any other jokes. And I said to him, so when are they doing this? He goes, well, they're not officially doing it. He goes, it's just something they talked about. And so I immediately fucking crestfallen. And he goes, well, I just wanted to keep it in mind. And I just wanted to scout it out and give you a heads up to be ready if they come to you for that, And I said, well, all right, I'm ready. And he goes, well, yeah, but after what happened last time. And I go, dude, I'm fine, really. I'm okay. He says, okay. He goes, well, I trust you. I have faith in you. He goes, I just want to let you know that they're considering it. So I went up to Matt, and I told him that, and he goes, dude, they have to do that. I go, yeah, that would be fantastic. He goes, how great would that be? I said, yeah, I know, because I'll tell you this, I was Marv Grunsky, and he was Darcy. But, in the script or whatever, we didn't really have lines. So that technically would mean that we weren't actors. We were still extras, but we were really featured extras. And since I wasn't in SAG, I was now SAG eligible because all you have to do is you get 3 vouchers. That's the way it works. If you get 3 vouchers as a non-SAG performer, then you are eligible to join SAG. Well, I already had those vouchers, but if you would get a line, that was the holy grail because that meant you were definitely going to be in SAG. And I knew I was anyway, but still, I wanted a line, man. I wanted to do something. We all did. I mean, of course, you're just fucking there. I'm trying not to fuck things up, but also there's the part of me that's like, I want redemption, man. I want to show them that I can fucking do whatever they ask me to do. So we're shooting hoops down on the floor, and Matt and Trey are there, and I think this is the 4th day of filming. And they go over to the crowd because the crowd kept yelling for them to come over. Because, again, it's bagels and fucking bananas. So, and these are the free people. So Matt and Trey actually went over and would hang out and sign stuff, and people would take pictures. And again, there's no phone photos. Back they had actual cameras. So they would pose for pictures with people, and they would go into the stands and actually, talk to people and take pictures, and they dug it. They were into it. They didn't care. Meanwhile, Yasmin Bleeth is wrapped in bubble wrap and propped up against the back wall waiting for her next fucking scene. She had no interest in it whatsoever. But Jenny McCarthy and everybody else was being very friendly and talking to people. So they finished talking to the extras and doing stuff, and they come over to us and they're talking, and one of the extras is like, hey, you're signing stuff. Can I get you to sign something? And they were like, sure, no problem. They started to sign it, and I had my legal pad with me, and I didn't want to do it, but they were so cool, and they were doing it for everybody anyway, and I knew, I was in fear of getting kicked off, but I was now entrenched, kind of. I had been involved in scenes in the background and stuff, so I knew they weren't going to just fucking whack me. At least I thought they weren't. I hoped they wouldn't, but they were so nice and so approachable, and they were fun and joking around with us that I felt okay asking. So I had my legal pad, and I talked to Matt first, and I'm like, dude, I go, this is ridiculous and weird, and I apologize, but, if you wanted to do something on my legal pad, if you could sign it or something, that would be great. And he's like, sure, man. And I believe he drew a pentagram, and he wrote, Hail Satan, I think that's what Matt did. And then Trey, he was talking to somebody, and he came over, and Matt's like, hey, Trey, come on over. And he goes, and they knew me, he knew I was Mike. Matt did. He goes, do something for Mike. So he drew on the legal pad, and I will put up a picture of it next week. I can't now because I'm in Wisconsin, but it's at my house. They did original artwork, and here was what I did, is I said it was for my ex-wife. because I didn't want to say that it was for me because that would have been like weird. Because again, I'm supposed to be their peer. So I'm like, my ex-wife, we love the show and it would be so great if you did something for her. And they did. And the funny thing is, I still have that at my house. I framed it and it's at my house. And I know you're thinking to yourself, hey, why wouldn't your ex-wife take that when she left? I have no fucking idea. Honestly, she was too busy stealing my Monty Python DVDs and taking my fucking rice cooker. That was the most important thing to my butler when she fucking walked out the door. She's like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take this rice cooker and never pay the tax bill. How's that sound? And I said, okay, I guess. And here we are, and I have the original South Park artwork signed by Matt and Trey, and I have it in a frame. And it's so funny. Every time I see it, I'm like, man, I could probably put that on eBay. And then I'm like, why would you ever put that on eBay? Because that's fucking amazing. It's just so cool that you have that and that it happened. It's the best. The best. So they did that for me. And then we started shooting around again and hanging out. And that day ended. Again, we just kept coming back through the rain and working at the LA Olympic Auditorium. Like the fifth day I come back, and the extras are getting there now earlier than us because they want to make sure they have a crowd. So they're telling the extras to get there at 7 a.m. And my call time would be like 9 a.m. And I parked my car on the fifth day, and everybody kind of knows me now. The security guards are all saying hi, and everybody's nice. And then I had to get to the LA Olympic Auditorium, which was Nirvana. That was the paradise because I got to go and change into my costume and then hide and watch a movie being made. But in order to get there, I had to navigate the minefield of bagels and bananas. I had to fucking walk through all of these dregs of humanity. I mean, these terrible, because they're there for free and they're just, and again, when I say bagels and bananas, I mean it. Out in the hallway of the LA Olympic Auditorium, there were huge, those long, you ever see this, what a card table looks like? Imagine those long, like a lunchroom, in a school lunchroom. Remember those tables that would fold in half? These are folded out and there's just boxes of bagels and bananas. It was just like Hoffa. It was just like Hoffa. But these people were there for free because again, it's Hollywood. Everybody thinks they're in the fucking movies anyway. So I had to walk through the minefield of bagels and bananas, and you would just see people, and it's raining, and they're under these tents, but the wind would kick up and it would blow sideways, so people had sideways umbrellas, and they're just shivering in blankets. And one of the worst sights I ever saw in my life was I walked in to the Olympic Auditorium once, and I had to use the restroom. So before I went and changed, I went into the restroom, and that's where a ton of bagels and bananas people were hanging out. And they were smoking in the bathroom because they couldn't smoke outside in the auditorium. It was just fucking gruesome. But when I walked in, I used the restroom, and I was just keeping my head down. I didn't want to fucking talk to anybody because they all wanted to talk to one another and ask about the movie. And then if they recognized you from being one of the guys on the floor, they would absolutely want to talk to you and want to see if you could get them down there. And oh my God, it was awful. Like, because they thought you were in the movie, and I was in the movie, but I was just fucking them. I just happened to be able to put on a costume, and I wasn't there for fucking free. I had no clout. I had no stroke whatsoever. But if they recognized you, they'd want to talk to you. I don't want to talk to you. They want to talk shop, like acting shop. Get the fuck out of here. I'm barely an actor. You're not even close. You're a voice in the background. That's all you are. You're a dot in the landscape. So I went and used the restroom, and I went to walk out, and there was a guy, and he had to be like he looked like Mark Maron, okay? But like if Mark Maron didn't care about himself at all, even more intensely than he doesn't care about himself now. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, he's all meticulous and bearded and groomed. But if there was a Mark Maron who was like insane and ungroomed, that's what this dude looked like. And he had the glasses, and he actually had tape on the corner of his glasses. And he was a fat Mark Maron, I should tell you that, because he had his gut hanging out of his shirt. It looked like his shirt had been rained on in the El Nino and had shrunken itself around him. But his gut was hanging out at the bottom of it. But even worse, he's standing there in kind of tattered pants, like the cuffs on the bottom were all torn. And I noticed that he's by the hair dryers, those hand dryers, and he has his socks on his hands, and he's wringing them out onto the floor and holding the socks under the hair dryers while he stands barefoot on the men's room floor in the LA Olympic Auditorium. I can still see it to this day. Just he's standing there, just wet, soaking wet, drying his socks, and they're dirty. Like they're like white socks with a hole in one of them and they're dirty on the bottom because you know how when you walk in the rain and your socks get soaked and there might be some dirt that seeps in or they were dirty to begin with. I don't fucking know. I don't want to speculate on this guy's sock care. I have no idea. All I know is watching him standing by the blow dryer with the fucking socks over his hands as he dried them. It was brutal to watch. I mean, I couldn't believe it. He's standing there getting the fucking socks dried over his hand. They're on his hands. They're dirty. They're so dirty, and he's dirty, and the floor is dirty, and he's wringing the socks out on the floor. So he's basically standing in a puddle made from him wringing out the socks, and then he's drying the socks in the hairdryer, and then what? He's going to put his wet feet back in the fucking dry socks? I don't get it. I couldn't figure out the whole fucking scheme, but he had no idea what he was doing other than making a fucking mess. And I saw it, and it just, oh my God, I cringed. I shook. I was like, ugh, shuddered. Walked out and vowed never to use that bathroom again. I had to find it. I'd found a bunch of places to hide. I was going to find a bathroom that nobody else knew about in the Olympic Auditorium and make sure it was just clearly mine. You know what? I pictured that guy. He would have been, because this was just a movie we're filming, and it's just rain outside, and we're hiding in the Olympic Auditorium. This is what it's been like for Katrina victims. Just hiding in the fucking Superdome, drying their socks. I think the same guy, maybe later on, like 7 years later, he wound up in Katrina, and he was perfectly at home. He's like, you know what? Just get me some bagels and bananas, and I'll put my socks on my hands, and I'll make it work. Everything will be fine. Everybody else is getting raped and shot, and he doesn't care. He's just blissfully passing the time with socks on his hands, standing barefoot in a men's room. Oh, fucking ankle deep in filth. Terrible. He was awful. So I went out to shoot. And it was a weekend. It was a Saturday. And Mike Siegel came up to me and he goes, hey, they were talking this morning and it looks like they're definitely going to use you for that montage of shooting. I said, seriously? He said, yeah. He said, they're going to want to see you shoot, though. So practice today. Every chance you get, shoot hoops and make sure that you're at least presentable, because that's the thing. They can jimmy the outcome of you making baskets, but as long as you look like you know what you're doing, that's the important part. That was the vibe he got from them. It's not like they said that, but obviously they'd want me to make shots. But the way it worked is if I at least looked like I knew what I was doing, they could fucking movie magic it up. So I said, absolutely, no problem. So I started just shooting all day, like every chance I got. Because normally I would rebound. I'd rebound for Matt and Trey, and I'd throw them the ball, or I'd rebound for Darcy or Matt Sloan. But I started to shoot. And it was a fucking disaster. I'm not going to lie to you. I was shooting because, again, my left hand is superfluous. I don't know. I can't shoot baskets. I can't. I was so used to doing it one-handed in the driveway with a small basketball. And I wasn't even good then. Please don't pretend. So I told you we were all pro players in the driveway. Like Jeff was Magic because his game was like that. He was a big guy who could post up, but he could still handle the ball. And then Mex was Jordan because he could drive and he would fucking jump crazy higher than anybody. Well, I became saddled with. I was two guys at the L Dome. I was Kevin Duckworth of the Portland Trail Blazers, because he was a guy with like a real big ass and a low center of gravity, and he shot the ball one-handed. So he would constantly get the ball and he would shoot one-handed in the post, and even little like flick jumpers, and that's what I did. It just felt more comfortable to me. But the other player I was at the L Dome was Bill Beer, because I was a dirty motherfucker on the court. Like, I did not mess around. If you tried to get by me, you'd get an elbow in the hip. I was constantly pulling your shirt. I was kneeing you in the back of your knee or in the thigh. I mean, I did everything as you tried to post me up to get rough and kind of keep you out of the post, because these were intense games. It sounds like we were all fucking around. Yay, I'm Jordan. Yay, I'm Magic. But dudes, we would play these intense 3-on-3 games, and we would be sweaty motherfuckers at the end of it. We had fun. It was great. We went balls out after one another, and if you lost, you had to sit so other guys would jump in. It was like the Venice Beach courts in Bolingbrook, the fucking L Dome, and a 9-foot rim with a little baby ball. It was awesome, dude. Awesome. It was some of the most fun I've ever had in my life. I'd get there at Saturday at like 11 a.m. and we'd play till 4 or 5. And then sometimes his mom would make Mexican food and we'd go in and eat like psychopaths. It was so great. So I was Kevin Duckworth and I was Bill Beer. So, I would play hoops, but I was terrible at it, but I would overcompensate for my shortcomings by playing a little dirty. Like I said, I'd tug your shirt, or I'd have a hand on your hip, and it became a running joke with us. It was fun. I wasn't hurting anybody, but I would do everything I could to try to hinder your game. So everybody else was like Magic or Jordan. Well, I was Duckbeer. That's who I was. I was Duckbeer at the L Dome because I was Duckworth with the one-handed jumpers, but I was Bill Lambier with the fucking dirty game on the court. But as I got on the floor and I was shooting, man, my left hand was not cooperating at all. I mean, it was supposed to be a guide hand, but I couldn't get the hang of shooting with both hands because it would also, like, the left hand would push the ball to the right always. Like, I used it, I would push off with my right hand to shoot, and then my left hand would somehow alter the trajectory, and I just couldn't line it up with my eyes. It was terrible. Let's put it this way, folks. I would not be a sniper. Certainly not with a basketball. I wouldn't hit a fucking thing. But I shot all day and tried to get the hang of it, and I was still terrible. I mean, I kind of tried to have form. That was the important. Hold on. Oh, Tawny. So I tried to have form because, again, he told me as long as you look like you know what you're doing, we can make it work. And look, I didn't really look like I knew what I was doing. I can't lie, but I was doing the best that I could. And also, let's put it this way. I'm a fat guy with a jersey tucked into short pants. I weighed 400 pounds at the time, easy. So I got this big fat face and this big fat round body, and I'm trying to look like I know what I'm doing. So my vertical jump must have been maybe an inch, maybe an inch and a half. I don't know. I wasn't going to sky and block any shots, and that wasn't any of the game in basketball. It was all verbal psych outs. If I was called on to do that, I was ready. But, athletically, fuck that, man. I was just there because like I said, I fit the fucking suit. I was the fat dude. But Mike Siegel told me to practice, and so practice I did. And I wondered if they were going to call on me, and then we wound up working Saturday, and we shot the Beers hitting hoops, but we didn't play. Like, we weren't actually shooting. So I was involved in all the shots of the day. It was great. We were active, and they'd cut, and we'd go, and we'd eat, and we'd see. And I actually saw an argument between extras trying to get down to where the food was, and a security guy he barred them. He's like, "No, you can't come down." And they said, "But we're in SAG. We're entitled to this." And he's like, "No, I'm sorry. We've been told nobody but crew down here and cast." And it was just this running war. And again, like I said, I have no idea if the union fought for them or the Zuckers kept them out. I don't know. All I know is there were a lot of hungry motherfuckers out there eating bagels and bananas, and they felt they were entitled to the best egg salad in the world. And they were clearly not entitled to it. Because I'll tell you what, if they've hired a security force to keep you away from the egg salad, take the fucking hint. Seriously, go back and have a bagel and a banana and shut the fuck up. And I'll tell you what, like I said, I don't know if SAG fought for them, but SAG is a vicious union. I mean, they don't fuck around. They will come after you, and they will do everything they can to recover every single penny. That's why I love being with them. And I have a story about that I'll tell you a bit later. But SAG doesn't fuck around either. So it was just this constant war, and I stayed the fuck out of it. I didn't care. So I'm on the floor. We're shooting all day Saturday, and the shooting runs long. Like, I think we were there 12, 13 hours on Saturday, and we kept filming with the Beers, and we're on the floor, and then we're breaking, and then we're eating snacks and pizza, and I've got my legal pad. I'm fucking reading, and Darcy and I are talking about movies and what he's going to do, and we hung out with the other extra guys, and then we also hung out, dude, the cheerleaders for both teams. The Felons had cheerleaders, and the Beers had cheerleaders. So they would hang out with us, and they were super nice. And of course, they were gorgeous women, and they were friendly. And it became like this weird family because we kept seeing each other every day, and we were on the floor, and they were using us all the time. So we'd find these places to hide and just talk and goof around. We were getting paid for nothing, essentially. But you couldn't I was trying not to wrinkle my Felon's costume. It was so fucking weird. So Saturday we worked for the longest time, and they didn't use me. And I saw Mike Siegel as I was leaving. I said, "Hey, are they still going to do that?" He goes, "I don't know. It was something they discussed." He goes, "I thought if they were going to do it, they were going to do it today." So I was kind of bummed. So I came in the next day, Sunday. I had to get there early, and I had to walk through the fucking puddles and the minefields of the wet hobos, and the whole place smelled like wet hobo. Do not fucking kid yourself. The parking lot and the interior halls of the Olympic Auditorium smelled like wet hobo. But I had to find the wardrobe place, and I had to check in and get my costume. I had to breakfast, and we hung out, and on the set, they're setting up like a microphone and a shot, and it doesn't look like it's going to be a basketball shot, but it's on the basketball field. But they're setting up like these weird Klieg lights, and they're setting up like an actual microphone. So Darcy and I are trying to figure out what's going on, and he and I go walking to the production area, and we start kind of looking. We're looking so bad. You're looking over the shoulders of the monitors, and you're listening to them talk, and you're trying not to be obvious, but at the same time, I was trying to learn about what was happening, what was going on. So Matt Sloan comes walking out, and Matt Stone comes walking out from, Matt and Trey. And he comes out, and he's laughing, and he's just fucking cracking up. And he walks away, and he comes over, and he's just like, "You're not going to believe it." So he says that to the Zuckers, and then out of the bowels of the Olympic Auditorium comes a creature the likes I've never seen before. It is. You ever see? All right, let me ask you this: have you ever seen David Lee Roth's "Going Crazy" video? If you haven't seen it, go watch it. I'll wait. It seems weird, probably. You should go check it out because in that video, David Lee Roth is wearing a fat suit, but a realistic fat suit that makes him look like a big cartoon fat dude. But his eyes move and he's very expressive and he's wearing a suit and he's got just big fat sausage fingers and it's crazy looking. But it's clearly a person. Like it doesn't, his features are still there, but they are so grossly distorted. So out of the bowels of the Olympic Auditorium comes just a guy. And when I look at him at first, he's got like a leather jacket on, and he's got no shirt on underneath. So it looked, but he was all slick. It was because he was all wet, kind of. It looked wet. It could have been just wet leather. I don't know, but he was wet, and he's clearly in a fat suit, and his face is really expressive, and he's wearing a red bandana around his head, and he has like pin straight red hair. And he walks out and he's wearing the outfit. He's got like a wallet chain. And I look at it and I mean, the second he walks out, the Zuckers die. Matt is dying. The Zuckers die. Me and Darcy are just like looking at it and we're cracking up. And the crowd goes crazy when he walks out. And he approaches the director's bay, or I guess it's the bay or the pod, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Hal. Open the director's bay door, Hal. And he opens his mouth and you see his eyes, and when he talks, you realize it's Trey Parker in a fat suit with a bandana on and fucking leather pants and like a leather vest. And he starts talking to them, and they're like, all right, and they bring him over by the microphone. And I realize as all of a sudden it dawns on me, he's got the red bandana, he's got the pin straight red hair, and he's supposed to be Axl Rose. But in like the craziest, fattest Axl Rose you've ever seen. So they bring him over and they start talking. We hear the crew start talking, and Darce gets a hold of the script. And we look at the call sheet and stuff, and we put it together. And what it is, and by the way, this is at a time, I think Axl had just appeared on the Video Music Awards, where he had just shown up, and he was in less than perfect shape. So they just took it to the extreme with the fucking fat suit. So they went ahead and put him in this goddamn outfit, and he's over there by the microphone, and they're talking, they're setting up the lights, and it's the Zuckers and the Abrams, and they're into it. They're laughing, and we see the script, and what it is apparently Axl Rose is there to sing the national anthem for the basketball championship game, and that's the scene they're going to film. So they're putting it together, and they're finding angles, and they're finding the best look for the fat suit, and you know, Darce and I go and disappear. We look at the script, and I should tell you, literally, it's just, fake Axl Rose sings the national anthem, fat Axl Rose sings the national anthem, and we go sit up in the stands, because the other, what they would do is one side of the stands would be filled when they would need them filled for the camera angle, and the other side would be empty, so that's where we'd go hole up. So we go sit up there with a couple of the other basketball dudes, and it takes them an eternity on Sunday. It might have taken them 2 hours to set this up. And by the way, I have no idea how fucking long Trey was in makeup. He had to be in there fucking forever for him to come wandering out. They were all excited because we had breakfast, we got suited up, we were waiting, and it took them 2 hours to set up. They weren't even filming yet, and they're still setting up the shot. They're consulting each other, and they're looking and they're talking, and it gets to be to the point where we all kind of look at each other and they're like, it's been 8 days of this, or 7 days of them constantly huddling and contemplating what they were going to do and figuring out the best angle or the best joke or who goes here and what goes where. And eventually Matt and I kind of look at each other and we're like, this is taking a pretty fucking long time, right? And again, I'm not complaining. I'm on a movie set. I'm excited. I'm eating food constantly. I'm sitting there getting paid for nothing. I'm getting paid for pretend. Again, I'm not only, here's the thing, not only am I pretending to be a Dallas felon, I'm pretending to work, essentially. That's what the whole thing was we were pretending to work. Because we're just sitting there while, the Zuckers are doing the work, I guess. If it's work, they're just thinking of bits and moving guys around. And it took them almost 2 hours to set up this national anthem shot. And they're laughing and they're cracking up. So finally, when they get the cameras up and set up and they're like, action! And, he lip synced to a track. And it played and they didn't fuck around. I'll tell you what, when they wanted us to do business, because it was very important that they taped the interview, well, they fucking blared this lip sync track throughout the Olympic Auditorium. I mean, you couldn't hear yourself fucking think. It was like a concert. And it was that loud. So it's blaring and it's throbbing and, we're looking at each other like, Jesus Christ. And he's going into the full on Axl and he's doing the dance and he's got the microphone and they're like, cut! And they're dying. The Zuckers are bent over laughing and everyone's cracking up. And it takes another hour. They set it up. They film more. It takes another hour. I think it took 5 hours. They kept doing takes. They kept doing different angles. They kept swooping in. They kept looking. They kept laughing. That was the thing. They kept laughing. It was really killing them. I mean, dude, look, I understand his initial, because when he walked out, I laughed. The whole place went crazy. We laughed. After 3 hours, after 4 hours, is it really that funny anymore? Is it really? I mean, he's got to be sweating or dying or whatever the fuck is going on under the suit, because that was one of the reasons they had to keep taking breaks. He had to go over and they had to mop him up, and it was just because it was just a weird thing. And when they're the Zuckers are laughing and stuff, and it got to be to the point where we were just kind of going, now it seemed a little self-congratulatory, right? Now it's not just dudes doing the bits. Now it looks like they're just jerking off. Like they're just like, oh, let's try it from this angle. Hey, let's hang him upside down. Let's give him a sandwich. You know what I mean? It was just fucking ridiculous. Like, I don't understand. Just because in the script it's Axl sings national anthem, but dude, it took 4.5, 5 hours to film Axl sort of singing the national anthem and dancing and jumping around, and they kept firing bits in there, but they didn't care how long it took. And again, there were pros to that, where it meant I would just sit around and we'd hang out and it was fun and you were on a movie set drinking it in. And then there were cons where you're just like, all right, dude, I've got 47 magazines here and I've read them all. I'm now out. I'm officially out of magazines. Entertain me. Can I work? Can I do something? Can I go practice my shot so when you call on me, I don't look like a fucking dork? So they filmed the national anthem, and it finally finished. And when it finished, of course, everybody applauded, and they sent Trey off to get on a stretcher or whatever and get peeled out of his fat suit. And the rest of the day was spent like doing setup and blocking for other teams, like the Miami team. And once again, I didn't get used. I will tell you that during every break, I was on the floor shooting because I was practicing just in case. So they filmed a ton of other stuff that day. And they were shooting the next day, because again, it was the Olympic Auditorium. They were shooting in a block. And they told me, I believe this was on Monday, maybe Tuesday, and then it turned out I wasn't on the call sheet for a couple of days. And I didn't know if I got whacked. And they were like, no, they're shooting scenes that they don't need you for. And I said, okay. So I wound up talking to Darcy, and he was on the call sheet. And I said, what's going on? He goes, well, they're filming Felon stuff tomorrow, and I need to be here. I said, well, I don't. And he said, well, that's strange. So I went to the AD, and I said, hey, how come I'm not here tomorrow? And they go, well, they're filming the halftime show. I said, all right, well, what's that? And they go, well, there's a halftime show with a volcano, and then the guys are all going to be dancing and up on, And I said, okay, so? And they're like, well, they don't think that you will be able to work on the apparatus that they've built. You're kind of a big guy, and they're going to go with a different guy for that. And I'm like, so what, like a fake Grunsky? Because it's like, I'm Grunsky. Remember you told me last week, you're Grunsky. I'm Grunsky. And she said, yeah, no, you still are. You'll come back. It's just they'll use a different guy for those scenes. And I said, okay. And in my head, I'm like, are they even going to explain it? But I guess, why would they have to? They weren't, once I found out later they used all the same dudes for the teams, it just made sense within the context of the joke, I guess, to not have me there because they thought I would break the fucking thing. So I was off for a few days, and then when I came back, Matt was like, oh man, it was crazy. Dude, you thought Axl took a long time. They had a fucking volcano, and they had bombs, and they had all sorts of shit in here, and we had to climb up on a fucking seesaw thing, and I'm like, oh my lord. He goes, yeah, and then there was a scene where Matt and Trey made out. I said, well, what do you mean? And he goes, they make out. And he goes, there were like a bunch of takes, and they clearly, they made out. And I was like, oh my God, really? Was it funny? And he goes, oh my God, it was hysterical. I go, oh, awesome. That's fine. I go, well, in what context did they make out? He goes, I don't, he goes, honestly, in the script it made sense, but I don't, when they kept doing it, you all of a sudden, you lost context. It's just dudes making out at that point, and but they were cracking up. He goes, but it was funny. It was funny when they did it. And I said, oh, okay. So we went to breakfast, and I got suited up. And I immediately went out on the floor, and Bagels and Bananas crew are out there, and it's fucking raining and pouring, and they're filling the stands. And Mike Siegel comes up to me, and he says, hey, I think they're going to use you today. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, I was sitting with the directors during the morning segment as you guys were having breakfast, and he goes, I think they're going to come to you and ask you to shoot that montage today. I said, are you serious? He goes, yeah, definitely. He goes, they think they're going to do it. And he goes, they put it on a back burner, but now I guess they've decided they really want to do it. Be ready. Get out there and practice and be ready. Now, I should tell you something. For days and days, at least 3 days, all I've done is practice. Every spare moment I've had, I've been on the floor shooting and doing the best that I could, and I'm practicing. Now, am I ready? Fuck no, I'm not ready. I am terrible. I mean, you can't learn to be a fucking basketball shooter in 3 fucking days, although I'm trying, and my right hand is cooperating. My right hand is smooth. My right hand is fucking Reggie Miller. My left hand is a dick. My left hand is Dennis Rodman. All it's trying to do is fuck my right hand up, and it is awful to see. And I get out there and I shoot and I try and I practice, and I'm that's fine, but am I ready? I don't think I'm ready. I'm not sure if I'm ready. So fucking I get some balls and I go to shoot, and the Zuckers walk on set. And I don't even fucking try. I try not to pay any attention, but I'm shooting, and I can see them talking, and they're looking at me. And I'm talking to Matt, and Matt's looking at me, and he's like, don't worry about it. I'm shooting. And David Zucker himself, David Zucker walks over to me. And I have a ball, and I'm nervous, freaky, because, again, I haven't talked to this fucking guy since he yelled at me. And he walks over, and then the other guys come over, and the AD is there. It's like 5 dudes, but David Zucker's the one who comes right up to me, and he looks and he goes, so, we have an idea. And I looked at him and I said, I'm ready. And I'll tell you about that next week. Just because I want to see what Mex could possibly do with the artwork for next week. You guys can get me at Mike at MikeSchmidtComedy.com. You guys can be my friend at Facebook.com/the40-year-old-boy. You can find me and follow me at Twitter.com/the40-year-old-boy. Our friend David Hernandez is Hernandez, there's a D in there, Hernandez, David Hernandez. He is a great friend of the show and my great friend for over 30 years. And he is a true Renaissance man who does artwork, he does music, he does all of that for our show, and he does it for himself, too. If you go to artbydmh.com, you will see his page and all of his new paintings that he's got coming out. He works in watercolors, he works in oils, and he can do custom stuff for you, in addition to some other stuff that he's just doing because he's really great at it and he wants to showcase it and possibly even sell it, I would imagine. If you want it, contact him and there'll be a price worked out. But he works in watercolors, he works in oils, he works in sound machines and music and mixers and iTools. Is that what it's called? iTools or Pro Tools? I don't know what he does. All I know is whatever he does turns out to be magic at the other end. I don't want to see the sausage getting made. I just want to fucking shove it down my throat. So... I don't want to see how the chorizo gets made. I just want to shove it down my throat because, he's the Mexican. You can go to artbydmh.com, artbydmh.com, and check out David's page there. That's his website, I should say, and see all of the cool stuff he's got going on. And if you want to hire him to do some custom artwork, he will do that for you. So get him in your crosshairs and tell him what's what. Lily Von Stupp is the producer of this show. She is very busy with so many different shows. She has the Monday Night Tease. She's got the Dirty Birdie Story Hour. She's got Dr. Sketchy. I think she's got some trivia show going on now. That would be actually that's the answer to a trivia question. What is the name of Lily's trivia show? I don't have a prize for you, but if you name it or answer it, then go ahead and let me know because then I can plug it next week and not get yelled at. I've never been yelled at by Lily. She's very gracious and is lovely in a person. And I think, I don't know, again, like I said, she doesn't talk to me anymore. She disappeared into the night, moved to Indianapolis. But she produces all of those shows, and she produces this show too. If you want to go ahead and contact her, you can follow her on Twitter at several different Twitter accounts, twitter.com/Lily Von Stupp, twitter.com/MNTs, and twitter.com/HollywoodBQFest. If you want to go ahead and get her on Facebook and be her friend, you can go to facebook.com/Lily Von Stupp, or if you want to write her a personal note and find out if while I'm, what kind of a vagic act she's going to have worked up when I see her next. Actually, we just want to ask her what vagic means, although I'm sure you can probably guess what vagic means. I may have mentioned vagic on here before. But if I have not, go ahead and write Lily to find out what vagic means at lily@burlesque411.com. That's Lily, Lili, at burlesque411.com.
Let me tell you how it will be. There's one for you, 19 for me. 'Cause I'm the tax man. Yeah, I'm the tax man. Should 5% appear too small? Be thankful I don't take it all. 'Cause I'm the tax man. Yeah, I'm the tax man. If you drive a car, I'll tax the street. If you try to sit, I'll tax your seat. If you get too cold, I'll tax the heat. If you take a walk, I'll tax your feet. Tax man. Cause I'm the tax man. Yeah, I'm the tax man. Don't ask me what I want it for. Ha ha, Mr. Wilson. If you don't wanna pay some more. Ha ha, Mr. Heath. 'Cause I'm the tax man. Yeah, I'm the tax man. Now my advice for those who die. Tax man, declare the pennies on your eyes. Tax man, 'cause I'm the tax man. Yeah, I'm the tax man. And you're working for no one but me. Tax man.
Want to remind you folks about the Monday Night Teas every Monday night at the 3 Clubs on Vine at Santa Monica, right in the middle of downtown Hollywood, right across the street from an Army fatigue store. So go ahead and stop in there. Grab a pith helmet. Well, that's actually a jungle store. That's actually not, that's not on, that's on. I'm sorry. I couldn't even get it out. That made myself laugh. That's actually on Highland at Santa Monica, the jungle store. So stop in there and get yourself a pith helmet. And then head over to the camo store and get yourself a fucking bayonet. And then go in and check out the ladies as they take off their clothes at the Monday Night Teas every Monday night at the 3 Clubs on Santa Monica and Vine. I happen to know the producer of that show. She is well, she's a great friend, and she may be a myth at this point. She's a legend, certainly, but she now may be a myth since I haven't seen her in so long. But soon, I will make my way to the oldest building in Hollywood, and I will surprise her, and I will sit down and I will record whether she likes it or not, damn it. I will open up the microphones, and I will just bark into them, not unlike our friend Tawny did to open the show here. But that is, of course, Lily Von Stupp. producer of that show, producer of many shows. The Monday Night Tease is a great, fantastic extravaganza. She just had, I think last week she had some people with circular saws, and they bounced them off their vaginas and made sparks come out. I think that's what it was. I don't know. I just saw the photos, so I can't speak to exactly what it was. I wasn't in attendance, but I do know there were saws and there were sparks. And there were vaginas. Somehow, if you put them all together, that was the Monday Night Tease last Monday. You can see photos from that. If you go to facebook.com/Monday Night Tease, become a friend of that page, become a liker of that page, and you'll get all of those photos sent directly to you, wherever you are, with push notifications on your phone. Won't that be fun in your meeting at your office when you get a push notification from a stripper with a circular saw? That'll be fantastic. That'll wake up a fucking sad meeting. So yeah, if you go to facebook.com/Monday Night Tease, you can be a liker of the page, and you can find out about all of the upcoming events, all of the different shows. You can see pictures from the other shows, people with saws, people bending over, people with fans, people dressed up as Prince. It's an amazing extravaganza and a lovely show. I've been many times. You should go. If you're in Los Angeles or California, or even if you're not, make a special trip and go to the Monday Night Tease every Monday night at the 3 clubs on Santa Monica at Vine, or I'm sorry, on Vine at Santa Monica. Don't want to get it confused. Again, I don't want to send you to a jungle store. I want to send you to the camouflage store, or whatever the fuck it is, army surplus store. And Lily, like I said, she's got all sorts of different shows in the pipeline. She's got the Story Hour show, the Dirty Birdie Story Hour show, that I can't believe I have to say the name of that, but that's fine. I didn't name it, but I'll say it. I'll plug it because she's my friend. And also she's got the Dr. Sketchy figure drawing class, form figure drawing class, where everybody gets naked and drinks and then draws on each other. It's a wild scene. It is right out of 1968. Everybody gets naked, and they get some drinks, and they get paintbrushes, and they fucking go to work. So show up for that, and have somebody paint a pink mustache on some part of your body that needs it. And then, of course, there's there's like a trivia show too, but I'm not sure when that is. I don't know if that's a part of the Monday Night Tease or separate or earlier. I don't know, but if you go to facebook.com/Monday Night Tease, or if you become Lily's friend at facebook.com/Lily Von Stupp, you will find out about all of these things. And also, Lily teaches classes, burlesque classes and dance classes, and how to use your corset and how to use a scarf and all the neat things you would need for burlesque, the art of the dance, the art of the tease. If you go, like I said, to facebook.com/Lily Von Stupp or facebook.com/Monday Night Tease, you will find all sorts of advertisements telling you when and where the classes are. You can sign up for those and be involved, and you too can get your burlesque on, if I may speak in the parlance of the kids of today. You can get your burlesque swerve on, right? I think that's how you say it. I'm not sure. I'm old. Christ, I'm sitting in a bedroom. What do you want from me? So that's the Monday Night Tease. And Monday Night Tease incorporated all of those different offshoots and shows every single night. Tickets are available at brownpapertickets.com. When you go there, just Google or not Google, search for Lily Von Stupp on the site brownpapertickets.com, and all of the shows that she's involved in will come up. And go ahead and buy tickets and go to all of them. Why not? And say hi to Lily when you get there. And if you want to just show up without buying a ticket, again, remember, anybody who slaps Lily on the ass gets in free, courtesy of the 40-year-old boy. She's not here to tell me that that's not true. So it must be true. If she's not here to dispute it, it must be true. Damn it. As I mentioned, artbydmh.com is David Hernandez's website. You can go there. Our friend Ryan Dirks does all of the artwork. No, he does not do the artwork. Ryan Dirks does all of the web stuff for our show. See, I'm confused because David Hernandez does all of the artwork and the music, and I felt like I gave him short shrift there by sending you to Art by DMH quickly, even though I sent you there earlier. But go there. And go to facebook.com/DavidMexHernandez and be his friend. And you will see a lot of the works that he has in progress and a lot of the finished works that will wind up on artbydmh.com. And our friend Ryan Dirks is the web guy, and you can be his friend on Facebook. I think it's facebook.com/Ryan Dirks. Or you can go to Ryan Dirks /littleprofiles.com. Is that what it is? Because it wasn't midgetfarmer.com. Because it's funny, last week I was goofing around because I can't check my phone, and that's where I have the information stored. So I said to him, when I said on the air, remember I was like, midget farmer and all that stuff, and he sent me a text. And he's like, hey, that plug was hilarious, talking about midget farmers and me. That's great. Maybe I'll look into buying that web domain. That's really awesome. And when I read it, like, here, you know what? I'm actually going to find it. Let me try to find it and read it to you as I fucking juggle the phone. Jesus Christ, what an idiot. But I have to read it because it made me laugh. His text. Let's see. Hold on. Is it still recording? All right, I've never tried this. Let's see if it's still working. Okay. I'm going to find his thing. Okay. Hey, Mike, sure is cool of you to do the plug for me. Thanks a ton, man. I'm going to look into midgetfarmer.com. I like that a lot. Or maybe I'll wait and see what comes up with you next week. Yours are way more fun than mine. And I think, here's the way I read that, okay? Hey, Mike, sure is cool of you to do the plug for me. Thanks a ton, man. I'm going to look into midgetfarmer.com. Oh boy, I like that a lot. Or maybe I'll wait and see what you come up with next week. Yours are so much more fun than mine. That's how I read that text. And I'm sure that was wrong. I'm sure he meant it in a very nice way. But as far as I'm concerned, when he wrote it, he was actually mad at me. And he may not have been. But you can go to ryandirks.littleprofiles.com and ask him yourself, you know what, or go to facebook.com/ryandirks and see if he's really upset or sarcastic or mean. He's none of those things. Again, he's a farmer. He can't possibly be sarcastic. You know, he's hanging around beets all day. He has no time to hone his sense of humor. Although I will tell you, of all of the vegetable kingdom, the beets are the ones with the best sense of humor. You do not want to try to make a carrot laugh. They will not cooperate whatsoever. Carrots just fucking straight line you. They give you the stiff arm. But a beet, you can actually get a guffaw out of a beet. I'm actually pausing for that one. You can actually get a guffaw out of a beet. So there you go. So Ryan Dirks is our web guy. Find him, friend him, follow him at littleprofiles.com. I don't even know what the fuck that is. Again, like I said, but go there. Go to MikeSchmidtComedy.com. And when you're there, you can do all sorts of cool stuff. There's all sorts of pages. There's the Boy with the Horns page, with artwork from Mex. We got a sound drop page with sound drops from the podcast. We have there's a blog that I haven't updated since 2004. So you might want to go look at that. I want to blog. I really do. Hold on. My throat. I'm going to have to drink something, and I hate to do this to you. Maybe I moved the microphone away. Maybe you didn't hear me swallow that. Because I think you heard my throat catch, and I had to do something because I was going to have a coughing fit. So yeah, I want to blog, but I do this fucking show once a week. So when do I have time to blog, folks? That just leaves 6 other days in the week. Christ, I have no time to blog. I'm busy dog training. But also, there's the Joe Business page at MikeSchmidtComedy.com with all sorts of stuff for you. I will tell you this: Yurt Dirt December has spilled into Yurt Dirt January because I have not changed the prices on the shirts. So this is absolutely your last opportunity to grab these shirts at a bargain basement price, essentially half price. If you swoop in and grab them, that's great. And again, this is nothing more than my laziness that you can profit from, folks. Benefit from my sedentary lifestyle. Go ahead and pick up a shirt, and I will send it out to you. And look. There's no sedentary lifestyle when it comes to sending them out. I send them out right away. But as far as changing the prices on the fucking website, which would take me all of 20 minutes, if that, maybe even 10 minutes, I haven't done it. But so that I pass the savings on to you. The benefit is yours, folks. So at the Joe Business page, we've got tweakedaudio.com. We're friends with them. We've got shirts available, of course, the Yurt Dirt shirt. And you can go ahead and grab that. Like right now, until I change it for a cut rate price. But if you go back there and I've changed the prices, ha-ha! Joke's on you. Still buy one. You owe me at that point. Honestly, I've given you like 3 extra weeks. I've given you a Yurt Dirt January and doing wishing a Yurt Dirt December. So go ahead and buy a shirt now to go ahead and reward me for my laziness and my sloth. And if you don't, I will become Wrath, Agent Coolion. So we have the Tweaked Audio stuff. We've got Yurt Dirt shirts. We've got the Big Angry CD. That was my first CD, and it is available for signing and listening. I'll do the signing, you do the listening. You know what, let's do this. Let's do it differently. I'll send it to you. You open it up, you sign it, and send it back to me. I'll listen to it. I think we do that this week. That's the new special for the Big Angry CD. Instead of me signing and you listening, you sign it, I'll listen to it. And cringe as I read your signature. And I'll be happy, I'll cherish that, but I don't want to hear me talk. I hear me talk all the time. We have the Big Angry CD. We've got the Yurt Dirt shirt. We've got Tweaked Audio. We've got artwork available that will be signed by me and Lily and David and sent out to you, capable, suitable for framing. You're capable of framing it, and it is suitable for framing. There you go. I can use both those words. Downloads are available for this show. Year 1, Year 2, Year 3, Year 4, Year 5, and Year 6 available individually or all together as part of the Reservoir Schmidt Dogs box set. So go ahead and grab that now, like so many of our friends have. We have the Schmidt Alive 2 set available for download. There is video of me. There is audio of me. Now they sync up. as I've mentioned before, so you can listen and look, or look and listen, or put them both on at the same time and just have a crazy quadraphonic Schmidt experience. And that's available for $10. Schmidt Alive 2, that's my live performance from the 2014 Los Angeles Podcast Festival. And you can donate to the show if you want, if you don't want any merch or anything like that, if you just want to send a straight donation, like our friend Sean English did this week. You can go ahead and put a donation with the donation button that's right in front of the little Schmitty there on the page, and you can donate a one-time donation or subscribe for $2 a month, $5 a month, $10 a month, or $25 a month. All amounts are appreciated and help the show. Thank you so much. And we would like you to use our Amazon link. So if you buy anything from Amazon, you can click through our Amazon link on the Joe Business page, and then there's our store that's not been updated yet, and I will get to that as soon as I update those T-shirt prices. You know me. And then you can click on the upper left-hand corner there. There's a little, like a little Amazon thing, and you click through to the regular store, and we get credit for anything that you go ahead and buy, and it helps us out immeasurably. So thank you so much for thinking of us. Use our Amazon link. We love the fact that you do, and people did it during Christmas, and then again they sent me notes what they bought, and I read it on the line. And nobody has sent me anything recently because nobody wants me to talk about what they bought. I guess everybody's buying secret stuff, but that's okay. I can go ahead and keep that under wraps. That's how I do things. And now, so that's it. That covers Joe Business, right? We're all plugged. What am I asking you? Jesus Christ, who am I conferring with? And now I need to put on like 5 layers of clothing because I mean the heat has been coming on, but I've been still sitting here and freezing my balls off, and it's well, actually, you know what? I'm not gonna lie to you folks. This show has been done in like several different locations this week, probably 5 different locations, and I'm not gonna tell you where, and I'm not gonna tell you when. Yeah, all right, I am gonna tell you when. I recorded the show in 2011. Because I knew I was going to go ahead and break up basketball into a podcast of 4 different weeks. Oh my God, I've turned a trilogy into a quadrology. Would that be a word? I think I've invented a word. And next week won't be all basketball talk. Not like this week was all basketball talk. This week was a lot of different stuff. This week we had a fight with a dog, and we tried to avoid a son. But next week will be, and again, I don't know where I'll be next week. I don't know if I'll be on the phone or I'll be with Lily. Dudes, that's the reason you come back. You don't even care about the content at this point. You're just coming in to find out where I'm going to be. It's, you know what it is? I'm Carmen Sandiego. That's who I am. I'm the Carmen Sandiego of podcasting. Where in the world is Mike Carmen Sandiego Schmidt San Luis Obispo? That's all I'll be. I'll be Mike San Luis Obispo. Where in the world is Mike San Luis Obispo? And what is he talking into? Is it a microphone? Is there a stripper in a chair across from him? Or is there a dog who has him pinned into a bedroom? Is he talking into a phone in a car? Nobody has any fucking clue where he is. He can podcast from anywhere in the world. Where in the world is Mike San Luis Obispo? God damn it, that's perfect.
Literally, this show starts as a tiny snowball, and at the end, the hundreds are dead at the bottom of a ravine. I mean, I get that. Believe me, if there's any show in the history of the world that does not need to be transcribed for posterity, it's this one. I like when nobody can see the seams. I like when I'm able to kind of just, fly with the bees wherever. When I have to actually stop the bees and ask for directions, that's not fun. I just like unleashing the bees, but when the bees have to stop in mid-flight and we all have to kind of look at each other and bust out a fucking nap, that's not fun at all. I want to saddle up these bees and ride, goddammit! I'm done.